Patricia Vallone with a CTV News update. A historic day in Washington as the second Trump impeachment trial is underway in the U.S. Senate. The first order of business was debate over whether the Constitution allows the chamber to try a president who has already left office. That's expected to take up to 4 hours. House managers are hoping to make the case that President Trump instigated the deadly insurrection at the Capitol on January 6th. Here is some of the debate over the constitutionality of today's proceedings.
Our case is based on cold, hard facts. It's all about the facts. President Trump has sent his lawyers here today to try to stop the Senate from hearing the facts of this case. They want to call the trial over before any evidence is even introduced. Their argument is that if you commit an impeachable offense in your last few weeks in office, you do it with constitutional impunity. You get away with it.
Following debate on the constitutionality of the hearings, the Senate will vote on whether to move forward with the trial. Each side will then have 16 hours for oral arguments over the course of 2 days. Senators can then question both sides. A vote could come next week. Well, the fight to fund a multi-billion-dollar education reform bill takes another step forward. The Maryland House of Delegates votes to override Governor Larry Hogan's veto of the measure, known as the blueprint for Maryland's future. The vote was 95 to 37. The 10-year plan would expand pre-K, expand career and technical education for students, and increase pay for teachers.
So we're going to continue to work with partners across the state. Our educators are busy contacting their senators. It was passed in the Senate in the spring with a bipartisan vote. So we're hopeful that we can get to a bipartisan vote again. But if not, we believe we still do have the votes to override the governor's veto, because our legislators who are voting for this do see this as an investment in our students, an investment in our economy, which has been needed for way too long.
The Senate takes up the issue next. The County Teachers Union says schools should remain closed until teachers receive vaccines, testing, and PPEs. The union sent a letter yesterday to the governor, the county executive, and the Board of Education. It's calling for a COVID-19 safety agreement to include hazard pay, air filtrations for buildings, and protocols if COVID-19 outbreaks occur. The group says an agreement should be in place before students return to class.
The CDC is issuing some new guidelines this week on reopening schools. There's a lot of controversy over telling people that it's safe for them to go back. But one of the things that they say is it's safe for them to go back if you follow this, and this. Well, we want to make sure that the this, and this, that all those protocols and procedures are followed.
The union is also calling for a reasonable time for teachers to transition from distance to in-person instruction. The Maryland Health Department today reports 41 new COVID-19 related deaths. That brings the state's death toll from the virus to more than 7,200 since the start of the pandemic. Montgomery County leads the state in COVID deaths with more than 1,300. Prince George's has recorded just over 1,200. A groundswell of opposition appears to be building against the proposed high-speed Maglev train that would slice through Prince George's County to connect D.C. to Baltimore. Councilmember Danielle Glero says the findings of a report have only solidified that opposition in her district. For example, the red markings on this map indicate the vibration and severe noise impacts to homes in the area, including Greenbelt and New Carrollton. Glero says the project would not benefit but harm Prince George's County.
It is pretty clear from the environmental impact statement that there is vibration impacts for homeowners along the route, that there's also noise impacts and severe noise impacts. And then there's the audacity of bringing 590 to 690 trucks daily 24 hours a day into a dense neighborhood of single family and apartment dwellers, which is proposed because there's a construction site that'll be right in the middle of Riverdale, off Riverdale Road.
Glaros is asking all residents to urge state and federal legislators to not fund the project. To weigh in on the impact statement, you can go to bwmaglev.info. The pilot that flew retired NBA player Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna, as well as 6 other passengers, reportedly violated federal standards, according to the Associated Press. U.S. investigators say the pilot, Ara Zobayan, was likely disoriented before his helicopter crashed into the California hills, killing everyone on board last year. NTSB officials say that Zobayan was flying a Sikorsky S-76 helicopter under visual flight rules. The board is expected to make non-binding recommendations today and announce its findings from the crash. In a notable death in the entertainment industry, Mary Wilson, a co-founder of the Supremes, has died at the age of 76. She passed away last night at her home in Las Vegas. The Supremes were one of the biggest singing groups ever, recording numerous top hits in the 1960s. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone. We'll be back in just a moment.
It's so sad. It's good. It's not. Here, put that on. Put that on.
Welcome back. The Prince George's County Council considers extending the appointment of Hector Velez as acting chief of police. The measure, SCR 10 would extend his term for an additional 4 months. Velez became the acting police chief after former chief Hank Stawinski resigned in June last year. County Executive Angela Alsobrooks launched a nationwide search for a new chief amid allegations of discrimination within the department. And Prince George's officials hold a virtual COVID-19 vaccine discussion with Dr. Anthony Fauci. Participants included County Executive Angela Alsobrooks, Health Officer Dr. Ernest Carter, and Dr. Joseph Wright of the University of Maryland Capital Region Health. The Q&A forum with Dr. Fauci was aimed at addressing misinformation about COVID vaccines.
We've heard from the community concern about differences between the 2 vaccines that are currently available, and is one better than the other? And what about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that is in the process of heading to emergency use authorization? There is concern about the vaccine as a single shot.
The Johnson & Johnson or Janssen one that is right now in the process of having their data evaluated by the FDA, it looks like the efficacy there is not quite what it is with the Moderna and the Pfizer, about 72%. However, one thing about it that is very favorable is that it is extremely effective in preventing serious, severe disease, including hospitalizations and deaths.
And the forum was held yesterday afternoon. In-person learning returns on a limited basis this week to the University of Maryland College Park, only days after the school saw a brief spike in positive COVID-19 cases. 36 positive cases were recorded through UMD-administered tests last Thursday and Friday. WUSA 9 reports that residents inside La Plata Hall are being told to restrict activities and practice enhanced social distancing after a rise in cases there. The Democrats in the U.S. Senate reintroduced the Secure Act for TPS recipients. TPS is a temporary legal status granted to foreign citizens who are endangered by conditions in their home country, such as ongoing armed conflict, environmental disaster, epidemic, or other events. The Secure Act would allow qualified recipients to apply for legal permanent residency.
TPS recipients are people who are in the United States legally, many for decades. There are neighbors, friends, small business owners. So many of them right now are on the front lines fighting the coronavirus. And the very least we can do is provide these individuals with the certainty of permanent status. And that's what the Secure Act does.
I still am just a frontline worker during the pandemic, in again, different settings, working with our community, providing care, guidance, education to our patients. I contracted COVID last year in the workplace. Thankfully, I did recover and continue working, doing what I love. So pretty much, I don't know anywhere else that I can call home except the United States.
There are currently about 411,000 people with TPS status in the U.S. Authorities have identified the victim in Sunday night's fatal stabbing in Chillam. He's 46-year-old Humberto Camacho of College Park. He was found in a parking lot in the 7300 block of Riggs Road, suffering from stab wounds. He died later at a hospital. Anyone with information on the incident is asked to contact police at 1-866-411-TIPS. Police have released the identity of the pedestrian who was struck and killed early Friday morning in Temple Hills. The victim is 52-year-old LaToya Butler of Washington, D.C. The accident happened just after 2 in the morning in the 3100 block of Branch Avenue. Butler was struck in the southbound lanes of the road and was not in a crosswalk. A Laurel attorney is unanimously disbarred by the Maryland Court of Appeals after accepting a $2,500 fee and abandoning his client. Wortham Davenport, who joined the bar in 1991, also failed to keep the retainer in a trust account and ignored an investigation by the Maryland Attorney Grievance Commission. The High Court says Davenport failed to appear at court hearings. He also did not notify his client of scheduled court dates or provide her with information concerning the status of her case. A Prince George's council member lends a helping hand during the pandemic. Monique Anderson Walker is hosting several food distributions every week with about 15 different organizations. The next giveaway will be tomorrow at Adams AME Church. St. Mark's AME and Breath of Life SDA churches are also distributing meals every second Wednesday.
We have to date delivered over 277,000 meals and counting. We've touched a lot of lives. We're partnering with churches to make this an effort. You know, teamwork makes the dream work. No one entity can do it on its own. So I think a lot of positive has come out of this COVID, and that we've been able to find great partnerships and to help people.
And for a complete list of giveaways and times, you can visit pgccouncil.us. Well, calling all future engineers, the Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission is hosting 2 special virtual events for children as part of its Engineers Week. The first event, scheduled for the 24th, is called Water Wednesday. Elementary school kids will learn about water distribution. The second event on the 25th is called Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day, where young ladies in 6th to 7th grades will do several hands-on activities.
These are our next generation of employees. So this is part of workforce development. We want to get them when they're young to think about, hey, water is cool, because the average student doesn't understand where the water comes from. So this is to get them to think about science. Hey, this is cool. Maybe I want to be an engineer. It gets them to think about other trade positions as well, because while the engineer designs it, when something needs to be construction, who builds it?
For more details and to sign up, you can visit WSSCwater.com. A travel alert for Metro commuters. WMATA is closing 2 train stations this weekend. The Addison Road Station in Capitol Heights will close on Saturday, along with the Arlington Cemetery stop. Passenger platforms are being reconstructed. The stations will be closed from February 13th through May 23rd. Shuttle bus service will be available at both stops. Well, now let's get a quick check on your 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a low of 28. Wednesday, cloudy with snow expected later in the evening. Daytime temps reach a high near 38 and a low around 30. Thursday, snowy with an accumulation of up to 2 inches. Temperatures will reach a high near 33 and a low around 26. Friday, expect the mix of rain, snow, and ice throughout the day with a high near 33 and a low of 23. Now for your community calendar, learn all about Prince George's County's rich history of Negro League Baseball and the impact of the game today. Participants will also have an opportunity to talk with local experts and players. The virtual event is tonight, February 9th from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Registration is required to attend. Parents can sign up through Parks Direct. And that wraps up our newscast for this evening. Join us again tomorrow. Have a great night.